There is a subtle, almost invisible weight many of us carry, the guilt of staying home, of not participating in the endless movements of society. The world tells us that to remain indoors is laziness, weakness, or failure. But what if this retreat is not a flaw, but a sacred wisdom of the soul? Carl Gustav Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, revealed that the human psyche has its own intelligence, an inner compass that guides us, often in ways the rational mind cannot yet understand. When we withdraw into our homes, into silence and solitude, society interprets this as stagnation. Yet deep within, something else is happening. The psyche senses when our inner defenses are fragile, when the noise of the outer world threatens to overwhelm the delicate balance inside. In those moments, the instinct to retreat is not an escape, but an act of survival. It is the unconscious saying, pause, protect yourself, heal before you continue. The modern age glorifies productivity, speed, and constant exposure. We are told to always be visible, connected, and efficient. But when the soul chooses withdrawal, it disrupts this pattern. And in truth, this disruption is a kind of courage. The body heals through rest, the mind restores itself through silence, and the soul reorganizes itself in solitude. What looks like stillness is often the deepest form of movement, an invisible transformation preparing us for a new stage of life. Jung understood that what the world calls dysfunction is often the beginning of healing. To step away is not failure. It is a hidden dialogue with the unconscious. The home becomes a symbolic cocoon, a sacred container where metamorphosis unfolds. Every corner of the house becomes a mirror of the psyche. The bedroom reveals our vulnerability, the kitchen symbolizes nourishment, the bathroom embodies purification, the living room becomes the theater of integration. In this sense, to remain at home is to dwell within the chambers of one's own soul. The walls of the home serve as protective boundaries, like the shell of an egg or the bark of a tree. They shield the fragile process of inner reorganization. Windows and doors become symbolic thresholds between the inner and outer worlds. To close them is not to reject life, but to allow the unconscious its time to weave, to mend, to prepare. Behind apparent inactivity, the unconscious is busy, processing memories, digesting repressed emotions, recalibrating values, and pointing us toward individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming whole. Periods of retreat are not wasted time. They are sacred pauses in the rhythm of life. Jung compared the psyche's cycles to the patterns of nature, expansion and contraction, light and darkness, growth and dormancy. Just as the seed must remain buried in the dark soil before it bursts into light, so too must the psyche remain hidden at times, in the quiet of home, before revealing new growth. When the outside world pressures us to perform endlessly, the soul may resist by pulling us inward. This is not cowardice, it is instinctive wisdom. An inner voice whispers, "Stop, step back, reclaim your strength. Remember who you are." If we ignore this whisper, we risk collapse, burnout, breakdown, despair. If we honor it, we find renewal. In the silence of solitude, we meet the shadow, the disowned parts of ourselves we often project onto others. At home, stripped of distractions, we face the truths we usually run from. This confrontation is not punishment, but transformation. By meeting the shadow, we recover lost energy and move closer to our authentic center, the self. Here, the unconscious speaks in dreams, in symbols, in quiet intuitions. What looks like inactivity is, in truth, the most profound labor of the soul. Jung described individuation not as a straight line, but as a spiral, full of retreats, returns, and pauses. The urge to stay home may be one of those sacred pauses when the psyche insists on realignment. Transformation often happens invisibly in what looks like nothing. The caterpillar appears lifeless in its cocoon, but within, every cell is rearranging into wings. Across cultures, this wisdom has always been honored. Ancient traditions had rituals of retreat, hermits seeking caves, monks entering monasteries, shamans isolating before initiation. They knew that to withdraw was not abandonment of life, but preparation for deeper participation. Our modern world has forgotten this, so retreat now appears as dysfunction. But in reality, it is often the soul performing its oldest ritual, stepping back, purifying, preparing for rebirth. The home becomes a temple in these times, lighting a candle, cleaning a space, sitting in silence, all become unconscious rituals. Each object carries symbolism, the mirror as truth, the flame as inner spirit, the plant as growth, the open window as invitation for renewal. Without realizing, we enact sacred rites in the ordinary rooms of our houses. Even when silent, the unconscious speaks. Through dreams, symbols, and synchronicities, the deeper intelligence of the psyche communicates. Jung called this the wisdom of the unconscious, an intelligence older than reason, one that guides us to what we need before we can name it. To withdraw is to give this voice the space to be heard. Balance, however, is key. Retreat can heal, but endless retreat can imprison. Healthy solitude carries a sense of renewal, of subtle growth, of preparation. Unhealthy isolation feels stagnant, heavy, disconnected. The art is in listening. Does this stillness carry meaning, or does it suffocate? If it is meaningful, it is transformation. If it suffocates, it asks for movement. The psyche, like nature, requires both retreat and return, both silence and expression. When we honor this rhythm, we align with wholeness. Retreat is not an end, it is preparation for return. After silence, we re-emerge with more authenticity, clarity, and strength. We bring back from the inner cave a treasure, a new insight, a deeper capacity for life. This is the true rhythm of individuation, inward journey, outward expression, silence and song, cocoon and flight. The home, then, is more than shelter. It is a living mirror of the soul. To stay within it is not always laziness. It can be the soul's most courageous act. It is to face what others run from, to tend to hidden wounds, to allow the unconscious to work its alchemy. It is not escape, it is awakening in disguise. So the next time guilt whispers because you stayed home, remember, Perhaps your soul chose this retreat not as failure, but as survival, as healing, as preparation for transformation. In the words of Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. To look within requires solitude. To honor solitude is to trust the wisdom of the psyche. And in trusting it, we find the path not just to survival, but to wholeness.